Hey everybody, it's Sunday, February 2nd, 2014, and we're here to talk about email marketing today with my friend John McIntyre over at McMethod.com. And today we'll talk about using email to do content marketing and how to get customers to buy pre-purchase and also building their relationship after they purchase in post-purchase emails. And also go over some other tips on to growing your e-commerce store, your revenues with email. And before we get into this, I want to talk about Bitcoin for a bit. And just curious, throwing it out there, have you taken the time to figure it out? Because chances are, if you were like me, maybe you were too lazy, you just kind of brushed it off as some techno fad thing. And, it's kind of like when I look at Bitcoin, I've been doing a deep dive for the past month or so, and I get the feeling it's like when the telephone came out, or say the steam engine, right? It's this huge paradigm shift. And if you look at the old tech predictions they had about the radio, television, internet, and even e-commerce, a lot of them are wrong. And I think Bitcoin is kind of in that environment right now where people know what it is. A select few people, it's still fairly niche. They're really excited about it, and then where the general public is still kind of like, oh, what's this? This will never take off. So I'm actually writing a post about this week. So what I did is I did a deep dive last month, and I bought a Bitcoin myself this past week. And it's just interesting to see once you get this Bitcoin, what you can do with it. How does it work? What can you buy with it? And how you can move it around between different wallets, different accounts. And it's interesting that kind of what it'll bring for e-commerce, not just as a consumer, but also as a merchant and even for suppliers. So stay tuned to that. If you think it's just a currency, you're right, but there's actually much more, and I'll go into that in that post. So make sure you tune into that on the website next week, and let's just get started with this week's episode. Don't deliver a product, deliver an experience. You're listening to the Build My Online Store podcast, and I'm your host, Terry Lin. We're here to talk about running an online store and building a strong e-commerce brand to take your online store to the next level. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to check us out at buildmyonlinestore.com. Let's get on with the show. All right, man. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Today, I've got my buddy John McIntyre over at McMethod. John, what's going on, man?
Just chilling out, man. It's late in the evening here. I just finished dinner and now I'm relaxing.
Yeah, I heard you munching on the chicken a little before we started recording.
I did. So I've actually finished that. I was wondering if you're going to comment on that, actually. Yeah, it's chicken and veggies. Delicious. But it's all gone, so no one's going to hear me chewing on my chicken.
All right, so today we're here to talk about email marketing, right? So you have a little nickname that everyone kind of calls you online called the autoresponder guy. So how did you get that name first up?
I tell everyone that that's what people call me, but it all started with because I came out one day and I was like, oh, everyone calls me that. So I was going through... it was about a year ago, right? So I was doing the marketing for my site with mine called Drop Dead Copy. Just basically copywriting at the time, and I realized that I was doing writing email autoresponders for people. That was the main reason they were hiring me. And at the time, I went through some marketing training, and one of the things they kept drilling into me was that I needed a USP. It's kind of like, why would someone go with me versus any of all the other copywriters out there? And so I thought, well, hang on, I'm going to call myself the autoresponder guy. And try I'm going to knuckle down and control this position in the market. I'm going to be the guy who does all the other stuff. He's a great copywriter in general, but he focuses on email marketing and autoresponders. And so the autoresponder guy, it kind of stuck, and it gives people, the reason I think it's great, and this is how it's turned out, is it gives people a really easy way to explain what I do to someone. If you're at a conference and someone says, I just don't know how to do email marketing stuff, you can say, we'll talk to John. He's the autoresponder guy. And you just say that, as long as they know what an autoresponder is, you could even say he's the email marketing guy, and that would have the same effect. They'd go, oh, okay, cool. They'd get it straight away. And they'd prefer to talk to me than a copywriter a copywriter is probably just as good as I am, but they're only a copywriter. They haven't focused down on that. So that was where the name came from. I started it, and then now it's kind of taken on a life of its own where most people who know me as the autoresponder guy.
Mm-hmm. All right, and so before we get into email marketing and all the juicy details today, so I want to ask you kind of a very general question. So when you're writing email for clients or doing client work, how does that compare to, say, other channels now, say like SEO, social media? Are they getting better ROIs on emails, or what do you see from the work you've done?
I've had a lot of people ask me this recently. All right, so I just put up some research in front of me from the Direct Marketing Association. And email marketing, this was in 2012, so it's a tiny bit out of date, about a year, but I'm sure it's not going to have changed much since then. Email basically is totally unbeaten. The ROI for every dollar spent was $41 per dollar spent, right? Compared with mobile, which is $10.51 per dollar spent. Social media is $12. So display is about $20, and search or AdWords is about $22. So email marketing is it's 3 to 4 times more effective than social media advertising, almost twice as effective as AdWords. As far as when you consider dollar spent versus dollar earned, and it looks like as well, this was back in 2012, they were saying that email marketing was about to take over direct marketing in terms of sales driven. It had $576 billion in sales driven that year, and it projected 650 the next year in comparison with direct marketing. So this is like sales letters and or the old school stuff. So that was more. So 650 billion. I haven't checked the stats yet, but in 2013, it was expected that it was going to do 650 billion, with direct marketing being 640. So it's probably one of the most effective forms of marketing that you could ever do. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about creating a relationship between, a sense of rapport between, the prospect or the marketplace, so that then you can help them solve their problems with, your products and services. But for the e-commerce listeners, it's probably worth pointing out now before we get into it that typically in e-commerce, a properly set up email marketing campaign for an e-commerce store can make up anywhere from 10 to 30% of the revenue. So if you have a guy who's doing 6 figures a year, let's say $100,000, by setting up email marketing properly with some of the stuff we'll talk about in a minute, he can add $10,000 to $30,000 a year to his bottom line. And this is stuff that's working for him 24/7. Once it's set up, it just runs over, and it's automatic, right? And he makes the one-time investment to get it set up either by himself or hire someone or whatever. And that's going to go on for the next, until he stops, until he sells the store or shuts it down or whatever. It's just going to go on churning and making money. So it's marketing automation at its finest. It's genius.
Yeah, this is totally true, because a couple of guests I had, I think Will Evans over at Chiefs, he was on a couple months ago. I think he only had a list of 1,000, 2,000 people, but he's doing 5 figures in sales a month. And then another guest I had, Huckberry, and they had about, 250,000 subscribers, and they get 20% purchases, 15% repeat off the list, and it's just crazy stuff. So one issue that a lot of people tell me is that, all right, I have this list, but I don't know what to send my customers. Before we get into the topic today, I want to go over this, because I think this is a big issue that a lot of store owners have, is that they have this list, they've been building it for a year, 2 years, 3 years, but they don't know what to email the customers. So kind of what's a real general strategy to start finding content for this? So
it helps to start off thinking that where are people coming into contact with your website or with your marketing, with your business, and how can you optimize those touch points with email? So in one case, you've got, so we're going to talk about 3 tips today, right? 3.
I see. So I see. I'm getting ahead of myself here, basically. I see. So let's just get into the 3 tips we're going to talk about today, because it'll answer the question I just asked. So the 3 tips today we're talking about: pre-purchase, post-sale, and ongoing content marketing. So number 1, pre-purchase. We've got the store. What do we send these guys in emails before they even bought from us?
So we're saying, okay, so someone's going to turn up to the store, and a lot of them will leave. They'll just bounce. There'll be, I can't remember, 30% or 60% of typically visitors to an e-commerce store bounce before they visit one page and then they leave. So it's kind of the first step. 1 is to get their, let's say we're getting their email address, right? We've already got their email address.
Yeah, let's say I sell surfboards. Let's take an example. Let's say I'm selling surfboards, stand-up paddleboards, to be more specific.
Okay. So pre-purchase would mean that, well, step 1 is to get them on the list. Now that's fairly easy. Let's say you would offer them you would give them say a 5% discount coupon if they give you their email address straight away. That's with a pop-up or an opt-in form somewhere on the site. But let's say that's already done. That's pretty straightforward. So what do you do after that? So it's about the frame, that when they visited the website, they haven't bought yet. So it's kind of like, why haven't they bought yet? The emails after that just need to solve the problems. They need to solve the barriers of why that person hasn't bought yet. And so if you want to brainstorm some of that stuff, it's going to be someone's whatever problem that your product solved. It's just not urgent enough. So that if it was urgent enough, if they really needed what you offered, they'd probably go to you if you were front of mind. So yeah, maybe he's not buying because he doesn't know how to buy. So maybe you offer him a buying guide. Send him 3 email series, how to figure out what the right paddleboard is for him to match his style, his goals, all that sort of stuff. What these pre-purchase emails are doing is they're maintaining a relationship with basically a warm lead. And that when he's ready, when he finally has the problem, or when you've removed the barriers to purchase, enough, he's going to buy from you. But you have to send him regular content. So now it's just a case of, what do you send him? And as long as it's relevant to his problems and it's interesting and it's engaging, it's going to be fine. And that when he's finally ready, he'll go to your store, because you're going to be the one that's been talking to him.
So one thing you do on your mailing list that I'm on is that you do daily emails, right? And is this something you can do with someone before they bought? How do you stay on top of mind? And how do you even write all these emails that are daily?
Writing daily emails isn't as hard as it sounds. I can pop off a 300-word email in 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It's once you get a framework and you understand how it works, it's really not that hard. What you want to do with these pre-purchase people, I mean, you could do daily, but I think for most people, every few days would be fine. You might want to say create a 10 email series with just some interesting and entertaining and compelling content for the next. So you send it every 3 days for the next 30 days when they join for their 5% discount. And every email has soft sells and links to products in your store. So while you're explaining to him how to find the right paddleboard and how to, based on his height and based on this and how it's going to interact with the surf when he takes it out into the ocean. You're going to mention, you're going to drop hints. You're going to be like, suppose you were using, the X27 board from Rip Curl. I just made that off the top of my head. Suppose you're using this board, the X27. Here's what that would feel like. Or here's what that would do. And then you'd run them through it. And obviously that X27 or whatever would be linked to the product page on your site. So they, if they click that because they want to know what it is, maybe they'll buy it. And so this is what you do in every single email. You send them interesting and engaging content that's not directly pitching. You sell around the product. You talk about challenges and problems that he might be going through, how to find, how to ride a good wave. Someone who's interested in paddleboards would probably be interested in tips on how to be a good paddleboarder or how to find a good break. Or if you have, a location-based store, like, you could recommend good breaks. You could have, the 5 best travel destinations for paddleboarders. So all I'm trying to do is think about what could we send these paddleboarders information that would get them to, open up these emails and get something out of them. And if they're interested, go and buy some product from our store.
I guess you could even tie personal stories too, right? Like, the first time I learned paddleboarding in San Diego, I wiped out in the wave or I wiped in the water. And here are the 3 tips I learned when you get your first board. And if you want to get your first board, here you go. Here's a link. Right?
If you as a store owner are willing to put your name on it and put your personality into it, in my opinion, that'll work even better. Because people buy from people. They most prefer to buy from people, not companies. So if you can weave in your own story, and it's all real stories, and it's all told in a conversational, compelling, and engaging way, the same way, we're having this conversation now. Imagine if you're at the bar and you're having a beer with a buddy or a wine or whatever you like to drink, and you're just having a chat. That's how you got to write these emails. And
that's one thing too, because I think a lot of people think I got to write this huge corporate sounding email when I think a lot of us are just overthinking it. Right?
Yeah, I think it depends on the store. If you're Amazon, you're not going to go out there and send a very personal email, right? But it all works. So one thing that I find a lot of people get caught up with is what's the perfect way to do it? What's the perfect way to do this? What's the perfect way to write this email? And none of that really matters because what's happening is, I don't know what the stats are for e-commerce store owners, but if they're not doing email marketing, the big win is just doing email marketing. It's not doing it perfectly. It's not writing the best email or getting everything nailed. Like, just set it up, take the time and write an email. I don't care if it's a piece of crap. Just set it up and make sure there's no typos and make sure it kind of makes sense and you can read it. It's going to work. And then you can start optimizing and worrying about perfecting it. I just noticed this with people is they can get so caught up on trying to make things perfect that they forget that the big win is just getting it done.
Like, one thing, even with typos, I've noticed that sometimes the email has a typo. I'll actually open it. Like, it's kind of counterintuitive because it looks like more real in some ways.
I do this all the time. I don't often do it on purpose anymore. I'll proofread it once and correct a few things, and I'll send it out. And sometimes there's mistakes in there, there's grammar issues or a typo. And I get replies. Sometimes I get replies from subscribers who complain and get iffy about it. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Like, this stuff, all the stuff that people think matters doesn't really matter. You got to think about it from like an 80-20 perspective that what's really going to, when it comes to, email marketing, most of the stuff that you think matters probably doesn't matter. And there's going to be a few small things that create most of the result. So, if you say 100% of email marketing is going to, create 100% of the results, 20% of what you could do to set that up is going to get 80% of those results. So it's kind of like you could go and spend hours upon hours and hours of, editing emails, making them perfect and studying and going buying products on how to do this and listening to podcasts like this. Or you could just sit down for an hour and write, figure it out. As a business owner, as an e-commerce store owner, your job is to find very, very high impact tasks. So it's not to go and worry about typos because typos that's not a high impact thing to worry about. If you're really worried about that, go and hire an editor.
As far as like the sales cycle, when someone's already given you their email, they're certainly a lot more closer than, say, a cold prospect that's just landing on your site and then bouncing too.
Absolutely. This is the kind of thing where then they get warm and they build a relationship with you, especially if you're personal with them. And then you can put testimonials in these emails. You can put a case study. You can tell a story about a customer named Dave who went paddleboarding, had a blast. I don't know, you never have a picture of him. Once you have that list, you can start getting customers. You have a competition where customers send in pictures of themselves using your paddleboards, and then you tell their story in your newsletter. which is just social proof. You can do so much cool stuff with this.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so let's move on to the next tip. So say, we've got a separate list of people that have bought already. Obviously, we should keep them in separate buckets since, it doesn't make sense to send everyone the same thing in most cases. So once they've bought something already, we certainly want to increase the lifetime value, right? So what are some strategies that we can do here?
Okay, so the main idea here is that when you send out order confirmation emails and shipping confirmation emails, these emails get really high open rates. They're called transactional emails. They're not looking for a pitch. They're looking for their receipt. So what you can do is you can optimize. This is what almost no one does, but you can actually optimize these emails where you add, say, 3 to 4 upsell links to popular products. What would they like to buy when they buy a paddleboard? What other problems do they have?
Well, you'd want a storage bag, maybe a rack, maybe a pump if it's an air inflatable one.
Okay, yeah. So just like that. So imagine you take your order confirmation email and your shipping confirmation. We'll say it like this: post order confirmation email. You have 3 to 4 upsell links to products that someone might like to buy that would make sense for them to buy with that product. Now, if you have if you have a big budget, you can go and get a product recommendation engine where this will happen automatically. This is what companies like Amazon do, when it's kind of like people who bought this also bought this, and they're recommending you stuff based on what you've already bought. That's even better, but that's a lot more expensive. For the typical e-commerce business owner, don't stress about this. Like I said, don't make this into a big thing that you have to do perfect. Just go and get 3 to 4 things that someone might buy with the product that they've just bought. Put that in the email. Or you can say, because you're only going to have the same thing. So 3 to 4 popular products. Your top 3, top 4 most popular products, put that in the email, put a link, put a little description, and you're going to make sales with that. So that's the first email. Then you have the shipping confirmation email. I mean, you could do the same thing. You could have upsell links, but what you should also do is you can add branding, where you have your like a graphic logo in the email, and also I've seen a lot of companies doing this now, where they put a header, almost like a menu bar in the email. People will interact with these emails as though it's a website. So if you put a menu bar in your email, so your shipping confirmation email, and it's got a home, products, the different product categories and stuff like that, some people are going to click those links, and some of those people are going to then buy more products.
I would even add if you bundle these products and make it like a one-time discount or something like that, just to add some more flair to it. It'd be pretty sweet.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. With marketing, one of the main things, one of the biggest, the best way to make, to change the response is to change the offer. So when you say, you can buy 2 and you get 1 free, that's a different offer than just buy 1 for this, this price. So like you just said then, you can change the offer. You can make a different offer. You could say buy a package. Instead of buying a paddleboard and bag and all that, separately, you could have like the complete kit for paddleboarders, where they get everything they need with a case, rack, paddleboard, extra paddle, and a wetsuit or something like that.
Yeah, this reminds me of Robert Cialdini's book Influence, because I was talking to one of our friends, John Myers, the other day, and he was saying when he was in New York, he was moving out to Asia. He had to sell his fridge, his plates, his chairs, his desk. And so what he did was he was posting on Craigslist, and he started adding random stuff together. He would just bundle like these plates, but he'd put them in a bag with a question mark on it. And he would say, hey, if you buy this washer machine, you'll get this mystery bag, and you'll find out what it is when you buy it. And he said it went gangbusters because people were calling him to say, hey, what's in this bag? I want to know what it is before I buy it. And he's like, that's not my responsibility. You just got to buy this. And then he was bundling like chopsticks with like desks, like washing machines with like pillows, all this stuff. And he sold all of his stuff within like a week or 2. And I think it goes to show what you're saying, how like when you play on this psychological angle, you can really change people's behaviors.
Absolutely. It's insane. It's really fun too. Once you start doing this, that you see that whatever problem you have right now, you can just make small tweaks. Because this is what we're doing, with email. You make a small tweak to the system being the website, and you can add, thousands of dollars. You can make, you can solve the problem. Usually it's small things that you can do today that will create huge results over time.
Yeah, there was this guy in the DC forums that posted, I think he sold, I think it was like hunting gear or something, or whatever. And then he was saying, I think he was in Thailand, he got some Thai fisherman pants. I don't even remember the story. He was like, the next 100 orders, you get a free pair of Thai fisherman pants, which is completely unrelated, but he like got back orders within like a week. So
this is what's cool. You can be so creative. You can pick anything. But the point is like, don't get caught up thinking that you have to be creative. You can go and get 3 or 4 links to popular products. You can add branding, HTML. It's that, it's really that simple. Another email that's really, really effective is a survey email, which is where you would send out a survey and find out, why did they buy? Was it a gift for someone? If they're buying let's say a paddleboard. Paddleboard's pretty simple. They're buying because they want to get paddleboarding. But did they buy the paddleboard because they want to like get fit and lose weight? Or are they like a paddleboard hobbyist who, maybe have they been doing it for 20 years? Are they a beginner? Are they just getting into it? So you want to have a survey where you're trying to figure out who are these people who are buying your products, because this is what's going to inspire your marketing over time.
And we just feed it right back to them. Because I think a lot of brands that are, say, like fashion-based, where the reason for purchasing is more kind of intangible rather than, say, like a weight loss pill or something like that. I think this is a lot more helpful there too.
I don't know, man. I think you'd be surprised. You'd find brands with products that there would be a very specific person that's interested in that product. Like a very specific type of girl shops at Supre. I don't know if you know there's a store in Australia called Supre, and there's a very specific type of girl that shops there. There's surf stores. We own by Surfboard, and brands like Billabong and Rip Curl and all that sort of stuff. There's a very specific type of person that shops in those stores. So yeah, it's intangible. But if you know who those people are, if you know that they're all like 22-year-old dudes, who dropped out of school, you figure out more about what they do. They're into surfing. Then you can start to talk. Then you can talk to them in their own language. Well, the last thing with the survey is that to get people to respond to it, offer them an incentive. So tell them, you put them into you can do like a monthly drawing for a discount code where you have a competition for, you enter everyone in, automatically when they respond to the survey, and then you give a free product, you give a discount, you give another voucher. Or you could just give a 5% discount to anyone who fills out the survey. You could have a report. The point is when comes back to the offer. When you say, "Can you fill out this survey and just do me a favor?" That's a very different thing to say, "If you fill out this survey, I'll give you, this free report or this discount code or something like that."
One of our friends, Will Evans, he actually has a Photoshop of a credit card with a discount code on it with the person's name after they do the survey. Apparently that works really well for him too. So I mean, it's just going to what you said, right? You change the offers a little bit here and there.
So then you can do that, and then you want to, I don't know, you probably want to set up some sort of monthly review thing where you go through the survey responses and brainstorm ways to incorporate that into the rest of your marketing, onto your website, into the other emails and all that sort of stuff.
And I think the powerful thing of this is that once they've bought on those transactional emails and they open it, they're highly responsive. You're almost automating this kind of marketing data survey you're getting too.
They know why they bought that product. And this is why it's great to add upsell links, because their credit card's probably on the desk right next to them. Or they've just put it away. Like they're in that buying mode. They want to keep the momentum up. They're like a drug addict at that point. You want to give them more drugs, give them more of your products, So
when you think like 80-20, just implementing this is probably like 1 to 99. It could probably like increase your conversions and revenues by so much more too.
I just think about like the time investment. Like you write 3 emails, like you tweak 3 emails. You walk away from this podcast and you tweak 3 emails, and then maybe you write 5 emails or 10 emails for your pre-purchase guys. That's it. That would take a week, 2 weeks, a couple hours a week. You would add like an automated revenue stream to your store. Like, I don't understand why more e-commerce business owners don't do this. It's such an easy win. I don't know, it's overwhelming or it's complex. I'm not really sure. It's such an easy win for them.
Well, I think a lot of people just don't know what content, right? And I think it goes back to what we talked about earlier, just kind of knowing your customer, who they are, and what stuff they're dealing with, right? And then just making content that targets that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. All right. So post-sale, let's move on to ongoing content marketing. Like I was just kind of hinting this earlier. A lot of people, they have an email list, but they don't know how to do content marketing, or they don't know really what to write about. So what's up with this tip?
All right, so this is an interesting one, because it's kind of like, I think a lot of people have this challenge where they think they sell paddleboards, and it's kind of like, I can't keep writing emails about paddleboards. I can only write about paddleboards so many times before people get pissed off, because I'm always writing about paddleboards. They're bored or, whatever, right? It's a bit like, so I'll give you an example. Here's what I do with my list. I write about email marketing. I help people do their email marketing better, not just with e-commerce stores, with all sorts of businesses. But in my email newsletter sequence, which is daily emails every day, 7 days a week, it, promises to teach people how to do email marketing better. I'm not talking about email marketing every day. I've sent emails about how I almost got arrested in Thailand, about visualization, about different subscribers and things that they send to me via email. I've sent an email about Abraham Lincoln, about Robbie. I don't know if you've read that email.
The Matrix, and I think there's one time you were going bike riding and like you took someone's advice and fell or something like that.
I ran into a tree. I think that's the subject line. Something like, so I ran into a tree. I always bring it back to email marketing, so it's always relevant. But the point is that when you're sending someone's emails, you don't have to talk about paddleboards all the time. You just have to talk about something that would be interesting to someone who cares about paddleboards.
Yeah. So before we get into this, there's probably people in the audience that are saying, okay, I don't believe you. How can you make an email about the Matrix in email marketing? So why don't you pull up one and let's just go through the structure of it and how it works. Let's just do that real quick.
All right, I'm gonna have to go. I'll look into Aweber, but I can tell you what the Abraham Lincoln one is. How about that?
Yeah, let's check out that one then. Let me see if I still have that one. Oh, here you go. Abraham Lincoln's Guide to Email Marketing.
That's it. All right, so you want me to just read it out? We'll go through it.
Let's just read it out, and then we'll go through kind of your way of structuring this email so people can kind of figure out why they should be doing this too.
Okay, so the subject line is Abraham Lincoln's Guide to Email Marketing. You'll see after we go through this email that you could reuse this same email for anything. All right.
Yeah, and I'll include a template. I'll include this email in the show notes for anyone who wants to see the text version.
Sounds good. Hey Terry, here's Abraham Lincoln's Guide to Email Marketing. In 1809, he was born February 12, 1809. 1816, Abraham Lincoln's family was forced out of their home and he needed to work to support his family. 1828, his sister dies. 1831, a business venture failed. 1832, he ran for state legislature. He lost. In 1832, the same year, he also lost his job. He decided he wanted to go to law school, but he couldn't get in. In 1833, he borrowed money from a friend to start a business, and by the end of the year, he was bankrupt. 1834, he ran for state legislature again. This time, he won. So in 1835, the year was looking better as he was engaged to be married, but unfortunately, his fiancée died and he was grief-stricken. 1836, the next year, he had a total nervous breakdown and for 6 months was bedridden. 1836, same year, he sought to become the Speaker of the state legislature and he was defeated. 1842, he marries Mary Todd. They have 4 boys, but only one lives to maturity. 1849, he sought the job of the land officer in his home state, but he didn't get it. 1850, his son Edward dies. 1854, he ran for the Senate of the United States. He lost. 1856, he sought the vice presidential nomination at a national convention and he got less than 100 votes. 1858, he ran for the Senate again and he lost again. 1860, Abraham Lincoln is elected president of the United States.
I had no idea about this until I read this email, actually.
This is a story that got told a lot at an old sales job I had. So then I continue, and so the email continues. Persistence, determination, a willingness to face defeat after defeat after defeat if it meant that one day he could achieve his goal. Are you struggling to make email marketing work, facing problems with open rates and click-throughs, losing money, don't know how to make sales? Maybe you think it's all a waste of time. So what's Lincoln's Guide to Email Marketing? Don't give up. Push on, good sir or good ma'am. The best is yet to come. Get yourself a good email marketing map like the McIntyre method and move towards success. So long as you never give up like Abraham Lincoln, you're guaranteed to succeed.
So this thing has no relation to do with email because there was no such thing as email in like the 1860s. But it hits the bigger problem of being consistent with email marketing and figuring out what works, split testing stuff and just sending it out, right?
Like this is entertaining. Like if you were interested in email marketing, you would love to read this email. It's like people love, you can't do this all the time. This is inspiration. You don't want to do this every single email unless you're doing personal development, but it's inspiration is such a, people love it. So in this case, like it's not about email marketing at all, but I tie it into email marketing at the end and it makes sense. If anyone's interested and on my list, this email is going to be fine with them. It's not going to annoy them. It's going to get them pumped up. It's going to get them motivated. It may even get them to buy my product because now they're excited and now they actually believe in themselves. So if the reason they weren't buying my product before was because they were doubtful of whether they could do it, maybe this email gives them the confidence that they need to actually go out there and do it.
And I think the thing that gleam here is that whether you're doing email marketing or selling paddle boards or selling candles, like you're not just saying, hey, buy my candles on my site, you got 10% off today, and those emails get deleted now. So there's no like engagement and relationship building in doing that.
They don't want to, people are so used to being pitched, with billboards and TV and all that. It's the same on the internet. You sign up to most people's lists and they're just going to tell you to buy their products and why their products are good and benefits and all that. I mean, like some easy ways to do it, with paddle boards, to go back to that example, just talk about what paddle boarders care about. Different breaks, the best places in the world to go traveling for paddle boarders, how to pick the right board, gear guides, that's good, but that's a little bit more pitchy. But you can go to the other end, like I've done with this Abraham Lincoln email. You could talk about Abraham Lincoln's Guide to Paddleboarding and tell that exact same story and then say, persistence, determination, and willingness to face defeat after defeat after defeat, whatever. Are you struggling to get better at paddleboarding? Maybe you don't really know how to do it, blah, blah, blah. So what's Lincoln's Guide to Paddleboarding? Don't give up. Just keep trying. Get a good board, like an SR27 or whatever that board I've made up before was. Get yourself a good board, like this one that we sell in our store. Here's a link. And, you'll be right as rain.
Yeah, you can do this for any, DIY thing, hunting, anything that requires a skill set to build up too. So but I think the powerful thing is that when you're doing this daily email and you're building this relationship here and there, like you're going to stay top of mind when it comes
Oh yeah.
it's time that they're actually going to buy a paddleboard.
Well, this is the content marketing side of it, right? So let's say you're doing this regularly. I'm not sure about the average e-commerce store owner, but they should be running like sales or promotions at least once a month, maybe twice a month. And every single one of those promotions, there should be a reason to do it, right? So they're going to need to have some sort of holiday, kind of like a reason. If you just have a sale for no reason, consumers can. It's almost like they know what's going on. They know you're just trying to make some money. Whereas if you have a reason, like it's Christmas, or it's Thanksgiving, or it's whatever holiday, it can be the most obscure holiday ever. But if you have a seemingly non-sales related reason to have a sale, it works better.
So like now, say it's almost like the Lunar New Year. We could just say, hey, now it's the year of the snake. It's ending. We're gonna get the year of the horse, and why there are these 12 animals and blah blah blah. We have a sale here, and by the way, here's our stuff.
Yeah, right? And here we're gonna send you 12 emails a day. We're gonna send you an email a day for the next 12 days on the 12 different types of paddle boards based on the 12 lunars. I don't know. There's so many ways to attack this. The point is, if you're doing regular content marketing, if you're sending these emails, like communicating with your list regularly, with your pre-purchase and your post-purchase, when you send them the sale emails, how much more responsive are they going to be?
And one thing I realized, I think, it's also just have fun doing this too, because I'm sure you have fun writing your emails. It's kind of creative.
Oh, it's so much fun.
Like I feel a lot of people think too much about it. They're like, I got to be so serious, and we're just like, hey, what's going on, guys? Here's what I did today when I was at the board, and here's I was in San Diego, and here's what was on my mind when I was on the water, and I thought I wanted to share this story with you. And then, by the way, check out this paddleboard. I just tried it.
It's pretty much that. Most people live boring lives. Most people live lives. That's that quote. I think it's from Oscar Wilde. Most people live lives of quiet desperation. I mean, when you're an entrepreneur and we live a very interesting lifestyle. I think we can tend to take it for granted. You live in Saigon. I live in Thailand, and Saigon, Vietnam. I'm in Chiang Mai, Thailand, and you can take it for granted. For the first time in history, we can go anywhere, live anywhere, work anywhere that just has an internet connection. It's incredible. It's exciting, and we have all these things going on. And it's easy to forget when you have an online store and you have this kind of lifestyle, it's easy to forget that most people aren't like that. Most people have jobs. Most people go to work every day. Most people have a half an hour long commute in the morning and another one in the evening. They're bored, they're depressed, they watch 3 hours of TV every evening, they eat like shit. This is what the lives that people have. So if you can walk into their life and give them something that's interesting, that's entertaining, that's going to get them laughing, maybe brighten their day a little bit, you're going to be their hero. You don't have to tell them that you're the hero, and they're not going to think, well, that guy's my hero. They're just going to feel it. If you can make them feel something, men and women, if you can make them feel better about themselves with your emails, this is why I think most content marketing is lame. Because it's just how-to tips. It doesn't make people feel anything. If you can make them feel something with your stories, with the stuff that you're talking about, with your content marketing, they're just going to respond to you. They're going to open up. They're going to buy the products because you'll be their hero.
Yeah, this is something I want to kind of go on a tangent. It's like these 10 tips to, look better, in this dress, or like, 10 tips of how to run. Like those posts are they're so worthless now because everyone's doing it. And I think when you can tell a story and add like a personal angle to it, that's what breaks through the barrier.
Most people are scared of doing this. They don't know how to do it. They don't know how to write stories. They're not a copywriter. They're not a storyteller. They're not an amazing marketer. They're just like, they're an entrepreneur. They get stuff done. They build stuff, but they're not some pro. They're not a pro at this. But they need to understand. Yeah, this is the future of marketing. This is what guys like Gary Vaynerchuk talk about. And most people won't do it because it's hard, at least at first. It's difficult at first, and you have to face, all your insecurities. Writing can be hard at times. It can be tough, but the benefits are just, massive. When everyone's running around doing these 10 tip stuff, and you're the guy who, who's getting people laughing and giggling and feeling good, and, you're taking people on an emotional journey, you stand out in the best possible way.
Yeah, and I think the thing to get past for the listeners is that, you write a personal story, people may not like it, or you might think, who am I to talk about what I ate for breakfast the other day, right? And how does it tie into my product? So, but I think when you just write 1 or 2 emails, get started, and you see the response come in, it works great too. So, goes back to Abraham Lincoln, right? Persistence, determination, willingness to face defeat after defeat, and one day, you might not be president, but you'll achieve your email marketing goals.
Right. Well, absolutely, man. Well, the way to get good at email marketing, the way to get good at anything, is just to suck at it long enough. If you suck at something for long enough, you'll get good at it. All right, so we went through three tips to get more out of your e-commerce stuff: pre-purchase, post-purchase, and content marketing. And but what I've actually created is a 6-step checklist for e-commerce store owners, and it is a PDF, and it's a bit of an email course as well, which is actually free. You can go to emailforecommerce.com. That'll take you to the landing page. You can sign up, and I will send you an email, basically an email a day every 3 days with this story. You'll see how I write emails in the story style, and you get I think an e-commerce store would get a lot out of it because they're going to see basically more information on what we've talked about today, plus basically a step-by-step rundown, a battle-tested action plan that they can follow, to set up email marketing in their store. Emailforecommerce.com. Yeah, and if they're, the same place as well. So what this has come out of is I've actually just launched a new service as well for e-commerce store owners to do this exact thing, basically a done-for-you version of it, where we handle the entire thing for them. So we can do that too, but the place to get in touch with that is, go sign up to that list, and you'll hear more about that there.
Yeah, awesome. All right, John, thanks so much for coming on here, and we'll catch up with you again soon.
Sounds good, Terry.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Build My Online Store podcast. If you want the show notes, make sure to check out the website at buildmyonlinestore.com. And if you got an e-commerce store, every 2 weeks I lead a live mastermind call with about 5 or 6 other listeners in 2 separate groups where we work openly together and solve a business problem that you have. And we're all there to support each other. So if this sounds like your cup of tea, make sure to check us out at buildmyonlinestore.com/mastermind. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll catch up with you guys next week.